want to know how you see the world. Do you seek out urban beauty? Or do you create your own landscapes? Maybe it's outdoor adventure that makes your world turn. Let us bring your passion into focus and give you the best view yet. At Botwin Eye Group and Oculus Optical, we defy the norms by combining advanced medical eye care with Santa Fe's finest selection of luxury and artful eyeglasses. Botwin Eye Group and Oculus Optical, 2 locations in Santa Fe.
Santa Fe Gloom podcast. We are back. We've got Brooks, who's a professional scout and co-host of We Are Soccer. Brooks, thank you so much for jumping on.
David, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. Been a while since I saw you at the last time at the Midwest Pro Combine, but I know we keep in touch all the time, and it's good to see what you guys are doing out there in Santa Fe with the MASL side and pro soccer in that area.
Yeah, no, you got it. I need to give you an update on it.
All right.
Brooks, I think, so you explained it well. When was that? And what were we doing? What were you doing? And we were, I guess, in Detroit Combine.
Mm-hmm.
What was your role there? That'll probably get our listeners rocking and rolling on what you do.
Yeah. So that was the Midwest Pro Combine, which my friend Eric Rudlin began. Eric is the technical / sporting director at AFC Ann Arbor, which is a USL 2 side. He was the head coach for many years. He was also formerly, before he came to AFC Ann Arbor, he was with a team in USL 2 that was called Lansing United. That's no longer around. But Eric's been a big part of the game around the state of Michigan for many, many years and throughout youth soccer and obviously summer amateur soccer. So I help Eric with that. It's a Midwest Pro Combine in Brighton, Michigan. And it's for college players. It's for guys, like some professional players do apply if they're looking for jobs to get in front of teams. And also we do have some youth players that apply. You know, we usually try to get 3 to 5. We can get 6 youth players in. It varies from year to year. So like last year we had 6 teams in the combine, about 15, 16 kids each team. You know, we have about 6 or 7 goalkeepers that rotate through games. And then, the year you came, David, we had four teams, just because of COVID and people having extra years. That's allowed us to have more teams the past year. We'll probably have 6 teams again this year. I'm thinking we're looking December 18th and 19th for that. And then our stuff opens up probably about the end of October, beginning November for players to apply. So that's kind of the scouting side of the stuff I do, part of it. I do work with the soccer syndicate. Scott Resendez is the owner. Who started it. Scott worked with the MLS Players Association, was a GM for the OKC Energy. He's based out of Washington, D.C. So we at the Soccer Syndicate, we contract with USL, MLS, USL 2 clubs, NISA, foreign clubs, doing college, youth, and lower division pro scouting in the United States. So that's part of what I do besides the We Are Soccer stuff I do with Craig and the guys.
And is Matt part of your group as well?
Matt Martin? Yes.
Yeah.
Matt Martin is. Yes. Matt does help us. He is one of the founders. Yeah. And yes, Matt is, he is based in Sacramento. So he does a lot of scouting. But yes, Matt Martin he is a very integral part of the business.
Yeah. I speak to him, I'd say once a month. Man, that guy's got details.
Yes, Matt has a lot of stories, and he can talk your ear off for a very, very long time. Yes.
Yeah. I put him on speaker when I go to Albuquerque, which is about an hour away.
Yes.
It's a compliment.
Yes.
Because he knows everything.
Yes.
I'll talk to him about futsal, right? And arena soccer. And he's like, I've got the guy. He's a right foot player from X, Y, and Z. I'm just like, holy smokes. This guy's got the details.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got a memory, man. He's got a memory, as all of us do that work at the syndicate. We bring up guys from 5 or 6 years ago to compare players to now, and people say the same thing about me about in the Midwest. I scout MLS Next and in college in the Midwest. This Saturday for me kicks off the college season, going down to South Bend to watch Notre Dame and Marshall play, and then obviously MLS Next kicks off right probably before Labor Day. So we're not far from, the season starting in the fall and continuing into 2024, 2025. So
Yeah. Before we get into the We Are Soccer, you're bringing up what you do for the college level and MLS Next.
Yep.
Describe those details on the college level first.
Yeah, so the collegiate level, as I said, we contract with professional clubs, domestic and clubs overseas. So we're out in games and we're watching players. Obviously for me, Michigan State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Western Michigan, Dayton, Xavier, Ohio State, Oakland, Detroit Mercy, Chicago schools, all those teams are part of what I need to do, whether that's seeing live or watching them on video. ESPN Plus is, obviously gives you a lot of great access to games because conferences play on that. And then obviously Y-Scout, we have a Y-Scout account where we can pick up and we can watch games on video. I prefer live scouting. I think, live scouting, you definitely get a lot more from it than you do video scouting. But so we scout the college game. We have our national shadow team, where we rank players, we put them in order, we denote, are they a homegrown player? What's their birth year? Were they drafted or were they draft eligible last year? Because now the MLS draft expanded, where you can now include sophomores, juniors, and seniors, where the freshmen then will be Generation Adidas players. We do a very heavily detailed scouting of the collegiate, youth, and lower division pro domestically in the United States. And
the MLS Next.
Yes, correct. In the MLS Next. So for the clients we do have in the youth space, that's a little more, I would say, I don't know if detailed is the right word, but more like there's more of a direction. Whereas college, we're scouting everyone. The direction may be, okay, you're watching this position for this age group. And it may be, U13, 14. Because
what's
maybe
the age range?
Yeah.
For MLS
Maybe
Next.
MLS Next Academy wants the kid at 15. Maybe the MLS Next Academy, MLS Academy doesn't have anything till, 16 or, 16. Maybe they start at 13. So it's very, very direct at that age. Yeah. For the youth.
Yeah. It seems so young.
It is.
Right. It seems so young to make big decisions. I've had other soccer scouts on too. Yeah. And that's exactly what they say. Do you have any reflections there?
Yeah, the youth stuff for sure. I mean, let's take Kevin Sullivan as a good example for the Philadelphia Union. I've seen him live. I've watched him play for the second team. I've watched him play on video. I mean, listen, mentally, I think the kid is much more mature than most of the players his age. Can he be something? Sure. Like, I'm not going to say he can't be anything at the age of 14, but people don't understand. There's a lot of year to year as a kid. I mean, your interests change, your direction and focus change. There's kids that I thought at 18 would go to college for 2 years and then come out as a pro, and they go for 4, and then their life choices change and they just want to go have a normal life. There is so much that can happen. Injuries also, luck and chance are a big part of it. Anyone that says that scouting is a very easy job and that, everyone has the answers and they know who's going to make it and who isn't, is lying to you. I mean, you can go the direction of, okay, athletes and big guys have a chance for sure. I think everyone likes players with profiles and can jump out the roof and have top end speed and, accelerate and have a good first step. But, if you're not technical enough, how do you make it at certain levels, whether it's MLS overseas or USL or whatnot? So there's a lot into scouting it goes to, and then coaches have different preferences of players and technical directors do. So, it's a very difficult job to get into and to be exact 100% that you're going to hit on every kid that you evaluate and identify.
And what are you looking for?
Yeah, so if
I guess it depends on your client, right?
Yeah, exactly. It depends on the client. Some like athletes, some want small technical players. Obviously some want just left footers for left-footed positions. Some just want right footers for right-footed positions. Some want, 2-footed players for attacking roles. Goalkeepers, big, small, good with their feet, just shot stoppers. All depends on the staff. And the tough part is, staffs rotate at the youth level. I mean, you have guys that leave for MLS academies to go overseas or to go work with ECNL clubs. Then you have guys switching vice versa. new technical directors and academy directors coming in. And, when everything changes and everyone has different ideas, a lot of things can clear house easily in a year or two, and then you kind of reset and start over, especially if the first team coach or someone within the front office has a big say of what's going to go on. It's not always, I think people think it's very directional. Like this is how it's going to go from youth to second team to first team. And I don't think that's always the case. I think there's always some, in every club or clubs, at least domestically, there's some disconnect between the academy and the second team. And there's disconnect between, sometimes the second team and first team. Sometimes the academy program and the second team work very well together, but no one from the first team's watching a whole lot of the second team players. I think it's, I don't want to say it's a fallacy, but I think it's you're dreaming a little bit if everything always connects and works and everyone's doing their job. I mean, it's like any normal job, any big business. There's people that are on top of things 24/7. There are people that kind of get lackadaisical at certain points. So there are times when, I think people think that there's this perfect system that's going to work, and it's not always the case.
Yeah, you spoiled my next question. And my next question is like, what is like the standard profile from, let's say, like, I'll give you a range from like 16 to 18, where you see a profile of a player and you're like, holy smokes, like this is the pedigree. He's living in the right city, the right club. He's got that right environment for that national team pool or MLS. Like, what is that profile high level?
I mean, like I told you, I think obviously the ones to pick are the big physical athletic kids, but you're looking at the small kids that are super technical, have a high IQ. I mean, you look at guys like the Spanish national team that just won the Euros, and look at Lionel Messi and other Angel Di Maria and a lot of the other Argentinian players, and that are just solid, good technical players that read the game very quickly, get themselves in good spots, can turn in tight spaces and make plays. I mean, I think that's the one thing in America we ignore a little bit. We don't allow the small players to find roles within, a system. I think you're too small. You can't take the beating in the midfield. You can't take the beating out wide or, as an attacking player. And I don't think that's always correct. I think every kid's got, determination and motivation to want to prove people wrong. And sometimes I don't think we give small technical players in this country a chance to showcase that. They're overpassed a lot. So that type of profile, I think for me, mentality is a big one. When you watch a kid live all the time, how do they react to referee calls? How do they interact with their teammates, to listen to their coach? Are they turning to the sideline to see mom and dad telling them what to do all the time? What's their body reaction if they're losing 4-0? Do they still get in there and make tackles and try to score? If they're not in a good team, how do they handle making players around them better if they're the top player? There's a lot of different ways you can evaluate players in terms of the mentality and their character, but that's definitely a big part of it, because why would you want to handle a kid that has a crappy attitude and isn't going to want to solve problems when he's going to go into your MLS academy or into your second team or possibly your first team? I don't think any professional coach of that stature wants to feel like they're babysitting someone.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I was probably one of those players.
We all were at one point.
Yeah. And then in terms of just reporting to your clients, to the pro teams, how is that done?
Yeah, it's done a little differently. Somewhat monthly list of players. It could be a certain number. Some could be 15 players a month. Some could be 10 or 5.
And then they go and check those players out, or they take their word and call them in?
It's just different. Some people take the word and call them in, and some people, especially it's a youth game. Like they obviously, all the teams, there's a video platform they all use called Pro Score, the MLS academies, and they'll go check out players. And then obviously you have the Winners Fest, and which is usually out west in Phoenix or San Diego or something, where they'll go watch the guys live. And then you have obviously MLS Next Flex, which has been in Boyd's, Maryland the past 2 years, and then playoffs. Obviously probably springtime's probably a little too late to start identifying that, but yeah, it's just some will take the information, go watch video, and then go watch them live. And it'll be the word, on the word of like, I trust you guys, we'll bring him in for trial. It's not always on the first trial these guys sign these players, and maybe a few other times. College is a little different. It's a long process. That's why sometimes I enjoy the college process a little more than the youth process of scouting, because you get 4 years or 3 years or more than, you get a number of chances to watch a guy in one location. Youth, it's like everyone's moving everywhere and everyone's doing something, and there's something that conflicts on this weekend, or a kid's on trial here, so he's not with his team. And there's a lot that goes on in youth soccer, and it's way too much at times. You get a better feel and an understanding of a college player for sure when you identify them for a while. And usually our college stuff is for the MLS draft, for MLS teams, and then USL, it could be for them wanting to sign, underclassmen or an upperclassman, after the college season, in the wintertime and such. So it varies from client to client, but that's something we discuss with the client, and then they kind of relay the information to us and how they want it.
And talk us through We Are Soccer, that podcast. You guys got, I think, almost 15,000 subscribers, thousands of views.
Yeah.
How did that happen? How did you go on board with them?
Yeah. So my friend Craig Hearn, he's a Michigan State grad, played at Michigan State men's soccer for Damon Rensing, who's the head coach. Damon was an assistant on the staff at that time, and Joe Baum, the legend coach at Michigan State, he played for Joe Baum. So Craig had this idea where he wanted to start this. He had a relative that worked at a place called Woodward Sports, and he was like, man, like they were looking for stuff. And Craig's like, why not a soccer show? Like, he loves soccer. He loves talking soccer with friends. Craig plays pickup soccer, like 6v6 boarded, pretty much 2-3 days a week. He plays on outdoor teams with his over 40, over 30 teams. And it just kind of started, and we were like, he was like, hey, like, I want to try this. So he did it himself. The first episode, they had like a little studio, a little nice little setup. They have a production guy with a couple cameras, and then Nate came in and joined, and Nate and Craig have a good connection. I mean, Nate's a jokester like all of us, and he coaches youth soccer. He works at Bosch during the day. We all have day jobs and work and do that. And then Craig interviewed me about scouting, and he was like, man, we feel like we got a good vibe between me, you, and Nate. Like, let's do this. And at one point, Craig didn't want to pay for the studio time anymore at Woodward Sports. So he just said, let's do this on our own. And, we did this over Zoom a little bit. This was just a little like after COVID, late 2021, 2022. And then, we found a studio space, and, we're in a nice little warehouse facility that it's an indoor soccer facility. We're upstairs, and we renovated a few old locker rooms, and, we did a pretty darn good job, we feel like, and we feel like we have a good little atmosphere. And, we started doing it every Sunday night and some other stuff. We do other interviews, and I help Craig get interviews with college coaches, players, and we have other guys on our team, and we merge with the local entity called Michigan Soccer Central that's now our We Are Soccer Michigan and We Are Soccer Ohio branches, for our youth, for our more local and youth stuff we do. And then, eventually Danny Price came on, and, Danny came on a few times, and Danny's got a different take. He's a youth coach. He's from England. He played in Liverpool Academy, big Man U fan. And, we go at it a lot with, but it's all friendly, and it's, sometimes gets a little emotional, but we have a lot of fun. I mean, that's the goal is, can we have fun? Can we entertain people, inform people, and make people feel like it doesn't matter if you played this sport and watched it for 30 plus years, or if you're a newbie and you want to learn, we're accepting of everyone that comes and joins our Facebook group, our social medias, and watches the show. So, it's a fun little thing.
So this is, it's live at a soccer facility, indoor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. I couldn't tell. I wasn't sure if like you were at your house or what,
People, that's when we first started. They're like, we've had guests come in that watch the show, and they're like, man, this is the room. I feel like Brooks is at home and the other guys are at someone else's house, and Craig's in this one room, and we laugh all the time. I mean, it's, like now that people have started to watch us a little more in the greater Detroit area, they come up to Craig, and love the show. Craig will be at the bar with some friends and some guy will come over and be like, hey, dude, can I buy you a beer? And like, yeah, like let's sit down and talk soccer. And, Nate with his coaching, people snap photos of him and post it in our Facebook group and everything. And, people say stuff to Danny. I'm kind of the quiet one. I sit out and scout. I talk to the parents because of the aspect of the scouting part with their sons and everything. But I guess when I'm out and about, I'm more of the quiet of the bunch than the other three. That's for sure. They get noticed. So,
and noble guests that you've had on the show.
Yeah, man, Craig's interviewed Calum Acosta. We've interviewed Alexi Lawless. Craig has, a lot of those have been set up for Craig. Craig's done himself. Who else have we interviewed? Dwan Jones. That's through our good friend Aaron Bird, who runs the Next Level Training, who's one of our sponsors. That's another great thing too, is our sponsors are great people. Next Level Training, the Fab Football Academy. Soccer World, Craig has known those guys at Soccer World. They've been a local Michigan staple for soccer products, in the greater Detroit area since like the 80s or 70s. They are great people. They allow us, to go in and do our little funny commercials we do. We'll show during the intermissions of our show. We have a guy called Zach Atwood, the football doc, who's just started doing a PT, and he's gotten some great referrals, from people watching our show and asking us about Zach, and that's our job too. Like anyone that partners with us, like we make sure we do our due diligence and help them out as much as we can, because it's a thank you for giving us some of your marketing money to showcase your stuff on our show. And then to also help you in return get clients and bring people into your store or get people to train with Aaron and his trainers at Next Level. That's the objective for us. We want to help the community. We're big at helping the soccer community, and it's not all about us. Sure, do we want to do this? Like, would it be great if like CBS picked us up, or we got someone, a big, a venture capitalist to give us some money, we're gonna do this full time? Sure, like that's definitely 100%. But we know this is for fun thing. And if people enjoy this and they feel good, watching the show on YouTube on Monday and Tuesday morning at work, or watching us Sunday nights from 9 to 11, and we make them laugh and, it gives them, positivity heading into the work week, like why the heck not,
So what was the inspiration behind this video? I aired it already, but we're going to again. So give us the backstory.
Yeah. So Craig, we this is us in a nutshell. We are a bunch of goofballs. We go at it on the show. Danny and Nate are Man U fans. Craig's a Villa fan. I watch as much EPL as I can because I'm so busy with the domestic game here in the United States. Obviously people know the show. I do like Brighton Hove and Albion. But yeah, our thing was, listen, we want people to know who we are. We're a bunch of goofballs. If you look at the Soccer World ad, you could tell how big of goofballs Craig and I are when we're in the store doing stuff. And, we have another one. There's like a Christmas one where we're doing like a Christmas thank you and a recap. And at the end, we're dressed up in like Christmas gear and, we're playing foot golf, or soccer golf or whatnot. So, but yeah, this one was just a goofy idea. It was like, Craig was like, I got a funny idea. And we're like, well, let's try this. Nate likes to work out. He's pretty ripped right there. Danny, Danny likes to play that part of like Mr. Into himself. And then Craig is, Craig's the, every time he goes out after, playing indoor soccer, he likes to go out and have a beer and whatnot. I don't want to label him as the alcoholic in the group because he's not any of that, but he enjoys a good beer, and we just kind of poke fun of ourselves. I was the one, I a couple years ago I was big into like running, 5Ks, 10Ks. I ran a half K, or I ran a half marathon with some friends. So yeah, we just joke around and poke fun, but like we just want to show people who we are.
Yeah, no, you touch on a good point that you just want to help the soccer community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that our Santa Fe Gloom team, we pride ourselves on the same thing. Free tickets to the community.
Mm-hmm.
We open up the arena 4 or 5 hours before the game. to have the kiddos go and play soccer, futsal, right? So that's what it's all about, man, is growing the game. And I think it's paying dividends now that we're seeing the World Cup coming to us, I guess. When is it? Next year, 2 years?
2026.
So 2 years.
Yep.
So talk to our audience kind of maybe about the World Cup and what we can expect. I know it's 2 years away, but give us kind of your predictions and what you think, the vibe, and maybe the hopeful outcomes of the World Cup.
Yeah. Just before I start, just a quick mention, we do stuff in our community too. We are soccer, we've helped like amputee soccer, like raise cash. We've bought soccer balls to send overseas to people in Africa and whatnot. So we're big into that as well. But yeah, for the World Cup perspective, it's an interesting time right now.
Too, Brooks. That's important work.
Yeah, it is. Just community service is really important. Giving back to the soccer community. That's the important part. So for 2026, listen, we're in an interesting time right now. I mean, Greg Berhalter's done. He did not advance in the Copa America as far as, expectations were. And the question is it a domestic coach? Is it Steve Cherundolo of LAFC that everyone wants, who's been with the national team? And does it make sense to have him, or do we go big and Matt Crocker uses his English connections to go get a European coach? That's the question. Who wants the job, and do they see it worth it with the 2-year time period to prep us for, this is the biggest soccer event since we hosted the last World Cup in '94. So this is the one where everyone says this could put soccer on the map in the United States and, push it past hockey, get it close to baseball, attract fans, be good for indoor soccer, to go people watch the game, USL, MLS, to start more expansion teams possibly in this country, that maybe people with money will see the how popular and great this sport is for the country. So this is an important time. And right now, the way I'm looking at things is, first you got to find your coach. I think it is a European coach, in my opinion, that you need to change up a little bit. I think Greg Berhalter did what he could with the team. I don't think there was any more progression after what he did after, being in there for 4 years. Usually managers, when they stay on again, usually don't do a good job for the second cycle. I thought they should have just made the change back in, last winter, then kept him on and procrastinated with everything a little bit. But listen, there's potential. Like Christian Pulisic is a phenomenal player. He's playing for AC Milan. You have other guys over in Europe. It's just the consistency of the team. We debate this all the time on We Are Soccer, and we've had good teams in the past with the U.S. men's national team that some have played overseas. Some players on the roster have played overseas, and most of them played domestically. It's the heart and the character of the American spirit, I think, that really pushes us forward and through. Besides maybe basketball, which was a sport we've always dominated in any type of like national team play. And, you can even maybe baseball, but obviously Japan and Korea and, Puerto Rico and some, Venezuela and other countries are, good, international baseball, countries. But like outside of basketball, really internationally and, other sports, we haven't really been, I guess, superb. I guess hockey you consider too, but we discuss all the time, is it a superior manager to come in for the U.S. men's national team that's going to make a difference? Is it a guy that just does enough? For me, I think it can be either, but it needs to be someone that's going to rally the team and pick up a little bit and push these guys. I think it's been a little too easy, honestly. People already knew they were starting and who was going to be on the bench and who was going to get called in. And I don't think that's a good atmosphere to have, to be honest with you. I think Clint Dempsey always said is when he played for Bruce and Bob, he never knew he was going to be called in, the next time there was a camp or for the next competition. So I think for me, it's really important that we have someone that sets standards, has high expectations, and doesn't just pick players based on because they're friends with people or just because they are, they've been in the system for a long time, that they deserve their spot. Every spot is earned every camp. And I think that's the mentality they need to go in for 2026.
If you had it your way, who would we hire?
Oh man, who would we hire? So people watch the show, they know I always joke about Thierry Henry, and Patrick Vieira.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
I always joke that it's be Thierry Henry and then Vieira could be the assistant, and then we can bring like Tim Howard as the goalkeeper coach or whatever. That's always stuff I throw around. I think we've talked about like Ralph Ragnick would be an interesting one to hire. Are we going to get Pochettino and Klopp? Probably. I mean, obviously Klopp said no. Probably right. Pochettino no.
Yeah.
Do I want Southgate? I don't think so. That guy needs to step away. I don't know how much of a difference. People could say, yeah, he is the most winningest England men's national team coach of all time. I just don't know if it suits what we need. I just want someone that's different. It's going to push players and challenge them, because I think that's the important part. Is it shouldn't be easy. You should be, like I said, every camp, every competition, it should be earned getting in the U.S. men's national team. It shouldn't be a given.
Yeah. And after the World Cup, how do you see soccer in the United States?
I see it exploding. I mean, I see if it's done right, the USA, we don't have to win it, but if we show that we can get into the 16 or 8 final teams, I mean, the Elite 8 would be nice in the World Cup. Final 4 would be even better. But, if we show that we can stand up to any big country, because we've always had tough times with the big countries. We've seemed to dominate Mexico in taking care of teams in CONCACAF outside of Canada, kind of, just kind of getting us a little bit, because they've changed their system a little bit. But it's time to step up and feel like when we watch a game that we are not, we're not the weak, or we can compete with them, that we have a chance. And I just don't feel like we have that. I felt like, honestly, we had more of a chance with like the Dempsey and Donovan era when we would play teams than we do now, because I just don't see the fight and resilience from all these players. I mean, they talk about it, but sometimes they don't always show it in every match, and that's the tough part with them.
Yeah. What did we leave out, Brooks?
Oh man, I mean, we covered a whole lot.
Covered a lot in a short amount of time.
We did. I mean, I think it's good. I think we covered everything. For us, we just mentioned We Are Soccer. We're on YouTube, X, Instagram. We have Facebook groups. So we have like a We Are Soccer Network Facebook group, and then we have a small private group, that can consist of everyone around the country and the world. People post a lot of great stuff in there. You want to get into a good soccer community and join the soccer conversation. Our We Are Soccer, private group's a good one. And then, just, watch the show, share it, chime in when we always ask questions during the show, on whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. For sure. Chime in and be a part of the conversation. And, we also have a newsletter through Substack you can subscribe to as well. So we send out once a week.
Your show is live?
Yes. Live Sunday nights, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Is there a reason why you guys do it live opposed to recording?
I think Craig's always had the idea of wanting to do a live show. I mean, sometimes we record. We've recorded a few times in the past, when we can't make it and we know we want to make sure we'll record on a Saturday night or like a Sunday morning or something. We like it, I think, because the games from Europe are done by the time we do anything. And then most of the MLS games are done when we want to talk about that and Champions League and everything. So by the time we can really recap everything that's gone on in the week of soccer, obviously you're a little late when, you're talking about the stuff that happened, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but that Friday, Saturday, Sunday stuff, it's pretty fresh still. But yeah, Craig always had that idea. Sometimes 2 hours can be a little too long for some stuff, but usually we try to give a good variety and change things up and do some wacky different stuff and topics. And it's not just hard news in soccer. Yeah. It's fun, good conversation that you'll laugh and enjoy.
Yeah. No, I'm taking cues from you guys. That race was super cool. And you got to keep it like top of mind and hip and not just soccer all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
We're heavy on that in terms of like community outreach. We're talking to community leaders, not necessarily about soccer, but a lot about what you were talking about, just community outreach and getting out to the community and sharing the beautiful game, right? And just what we have all in common. That's the essential part. And that's how you and I connected. And that's how we all connect through podcasts and through life and through soccer.
Exactly. That's how I have most of my connections, just through stuff. It's never been for money or anything. It's just been helping other people. And the soccer community is really small. I don't think people understand that. They think it's huge, it's international, but it's actually pretty darn small. And when you're in that community, everyone knows you, and it's a beautiful thing when you're part of the soccer community. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I've been only doing this, I'd say, like 3 years, and it's very small.
Yes.
I was talking to one guy guy from Baltimore, and I thought he was a futsal team, but they're actually an MASL 3 team.
Oh, wow.
I'm just like, oh, okay, like, Chris, and because Chris is the MASL 2 commissioner. He's like, yeah, I talked to him yesterday. I was like, oh shit, I gotta call Chris back. So, and it's just like, I just met him today, and he's from Baltimore.
Yep.
So it's just like, holy smokes, and then of course, with all of your connections, and then I know Matt, obviously, Matt, you work with him. So yeah. And I mean, you guys are the premier scouts. So it's like, it's a very, very small community.
Yes. Yeah. Name goes around really quickly, and, if people know and they like you and you're a good reference, or they're good at what you do, they'll put your name forward to people, which is great. So,
yeah. Great. Brooks, I think we've covered so much. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck with We Are Soccer. You guys are killing it, man. I love that show. And I love that it's live, because I'm tempted just to type something out and it goes live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Pit Press podcast, they do a lot of our social media. They do their shows live. We've done one show live with our players. But so now I'm tempted to do more live, and I think it's more fan interaction.
Yes.
So I'm leaning towards that when the moment comes. I just got to get the Pit Press to set me up on the live, and I can learn it, and then we can.
That's
the
OBS system.
Yeah, it's a system.
That's the tough part, the OBS system, which Craig has to, teach me a little bit. I do a lot of the soundboard stuff on our show, so like the funny noises and whatnot, we're trying to add more to it. Like that's what I do, a lot of the audio stuff. But like it's tough. It's not easy. And Craig's done a good job teaching himself and learning about cameras, and he works in marketing as a career, but he's never done a lot of the media stuff. So he's done a fantastic job just learning stuff on the fly and trying stuff out. Cause that's all this is trying stuff out and tinkering with things to make it look more professional. That's what you just got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of trial and error. Trust me. I mean, just with the lighting, the sound, everything, it's like, holy smokes. So it looks easy, but it's definitely not.
No.
So, all right, Brooks, we'll have you back on. Thank you so much. We'll plug you when we release this, and our Santa Fe community thanks you so much. We'll put your Instagram, the YouTube, everything on there. So Brooks, thank you so much. If you've got any players that want to travel to Santa Fe, we're open to it. So we've got a great team here, but definitely keep an eye out.
I will, David. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And if anyone has any questions, We Are Soccer, don't hesitate to reach out, or Soccer Syndicate. And man, just keep growing that soccer community in Santa Fe, man. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brooks.
Take care.